Cracky. Cracky.
Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to another round of TikTalk, where today on March 18, 2021, on Thursday, we will have a very interesting session with three speakers here on this channel. So those guests or those viewers, if you're watching on Instagram, my Facebook, and YouTube, please feel free to comment to the section below. And thank you for spending 60 minutes of your time here with us. We really look forward to a wonderful session. Our title today, Versatile 21st Century Education Graduates, Embracing the New Norm. So, in the face of reality and what has happened in the last 1 year plus, uh, teaching kids today about global awareness and internet safety has become a mainstream practice in education. I don't know if many of you would remember, but today is the 18th of March, which is exactly a 1 year anniversary for Malaysia since we had our first lockdown. So I actually wished my husband happy anniversary, so I think many of you are doing that. And since then, education has taken a completely different turn, so many unexpected, so many new changes, so many new technology has arisen since then to benefit our students. And embracing new norms has been a new routine for education everywhere around the world. And it is important to ensure that students of all ages continue their learning, that education does not stop. But how can we expand the new norm and cater to their needs, which is the needs of the 21st century learning, where we are, maybe we could leverage on education technology, to equip our students to be ready for the future, our future generation. This is what we will be discussing today in our topic, versatile 21st century graduates and embracing the new norms. But before we go to that topic, let's watch a quick corporate video by Uniraza. Hi, good afternoon. Welcome again to another round of UR, and I hope that you enjoyed that quick video by Unirazak. As you can see, that Unirazak players are all a bunch of very friendly, exciting people, and it is something that we are all very proud of in the Unirazak family. So as you can see on our screen today, we have three wonderful speakers, all ladies today on this wonderful March 18. Let me introduce our speakers here today. First speaker, we have Madam Noor Olya Dollah. She is a lecturer at the School of Education and Humanities here at Unirazak. She teaches the early childhood education for bachelor and diploma students. But before joining Unirazak, she was actually the industry player in the early childhood education and care in Malaysia, as she has run a few businesses including childcare center, private kindergarten, tuition center, and so on. So she is definitely well versed in the early childhood education curriculum and management system. Besides that, she is also an expert in e-learning due to her vast IT background as a computer engineer. Yeah, so that's something definitely different. She has both, the expertise in IT engineering and also in early childhood education. But however, as she has mentioned, her main motivation is her children. She is a mother of 5 with 4 boys and 1 girl, and she's passionate about teaching and believes that it allows her to acquire knowledge for herself. So, Olya, how are you today?
Fine, thank you. How are you, Tara?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's move on.
Yeah,
let me introduce our next speaker.
Sure, no problem.
Our second speaker is Madam Puan Lilie Zahara. She is the Program Director, School of Education and Humanities. So Miss Lilie is actually a lecturer here, also like Puan Olya, and she is the Program Director for the Bachelor of Education Honours and for the Bachelor of the English program. Miss Lilie is currently pursuing her PhD in Education Technology and has extensive experience with corporate and international training, liaisons, mobility, and collaborative projects, international research projects, as well as curriculum and program development. Ms. Lilie is an advocate for lifelong learning, learning experience design, creative teaching, inclusive education, and Brycona's online collaborative learning. So how are you, Ms. Lilie? Are you good today?
Yeah, thank you, Tara. I'm feeling very great. I just celebrated my birthday a couple of days ago. So,
wow. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Celebrated at home or did you go out to a nice restaurant?
I celebrated around KL. I live in Seremban, so I decided to stay in KL.
Wow, that sounds like a wonderful holiday. Great. All right. And our third speaker for today, this is someone who is a little bit different from our two speakers. Our third speaker is Miss Suthaa Paskaran. She is a student right now, a student doing her diploma in early childhood education. And in short, why is she doing early childhood education? It's because she admired her tuition teacher and chose this career. The way her tuition teacher interacted with students and bond with them inspired her to be a teacher herself one day. And at this point now, Miss Suthaa is really excited for her journey in education. How are you, Suthaa? Are you good?
Hello, hi Miss Tara, Miss Olya, and Miss Lilie, and thank you for this opportunity. And yeah, I'm very glad to meet you all.
All right, great. Okay. So, like what we were talking about earlier, like what I was earlier in the introduction, education has taken a real turn, since the pandemic. But of course, with or without the pandemic, education will always move forward. Technology will always evolve. Changes will always happen, and we will always enter into the next century. It's not like this is something we cannot expect. However, going back to the title, Versatile 21st Century Education Graduates, Embracing the New Norm. What is this new norm that we're talking about? How do we embrace it? How are they different, this 21st century graduates? What should they expect and what is should be something that, you cannot be shocked at, it's something that they have to expect, right? So our first question for today will be directed to Madam Olya. And the question is, what is expected of higher education graduates in the 21st century? So this is the title itself. What is expected?
All right. Thank you, Tara. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, thank you one more time for having me back in the show. And I'm glad to be here today to share some insights of our topic today. Well, when we talk about the 21st century education, we can't run away from these 4 C's that I would like to introduce it to you. I know some of you already know what is a 4 C's all about. It is a collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creative. So definitely these are the 4 main elements that we expect from the higher education graduates in the 21st century. Well, according to the research that from the LinkedIn I have read on the other day, these are the most soft skill in demand by the employer beside the time management, since we are most of us working from home, adaptability and persuasion skill. Yeah. Yet, these skills cannot be taught in a short time period, and it takes two to tango, the educator and the student itself. Yeah, both of us have to play our own role in order to prepare the student or the graduates to be relevant and suit with the market needs. Yeah, I have read this book called 4-Dimensional Education. It mentioned by this Andreas, Director of Education and Skills at the OECD in his book. Such a provoking thoughts for all of us, I guess. How can school prepare students for jobs that have not yet been created? To use technology that have not yet been invented? And to solve social problem that we don't know yet when it will be arise. Yeah. So I think it's such a provoking thoughts for all of us to think further. And based to the topic, that is why the versatile is the key of the 21st century skills nowadays. Yeah. Versatile means have an ability to adapt or be adapted to many different function or activities. Yeah? As the versatile person, in a simple meaning, person with a different skill. So what we expect from our education graduate nowadays is for them to be prepared themselves, to be versatile enough to succeed no matter what, how unpredictable our world changes around us. Yeah. As we know, like Tara said, wow, today is 18 March, yeah, Tara, I didn't notice that. This is exactly 1 year after the school closed and we have a PKP and so on. So we never know what will happen in the future. But I guess as long as you have this versatile, open mindset, ability to adapt in whatever the situation might be, I think you're going to be just fine. Yeah. And beside those 4 main elements that I've mentioned to you earlier on, I would like to highlight some of the character qualities that I think it will be superb for the graduate 21st century to have that. Yeah, a mindfulness, a curiosity, courage, resilience, ethics, and leadership. You know why? Because these are all the qualities that are very high importance once you enter the workplace. Am I right, Tara? Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah, and I believe more or less we can get all those qualities through the entrepreneur mindset. I'm sorry, because I used to be an entrepreneur, so I can't run away from that mindset. And being an entrepreneur myself, I know that we need to have those qualities because we are on our own. We have to be stand to our own 2 feet to strive and survive and be ready for any challenges. I still remember, yeah, Tara and the audience, during my days being an entrepreneur, I used to look every point of my life and turn into something good for myself, even though it did not seem good to others. Like turn all those challenges into the opportunity. Yeah, for example, I normally take an opportunity to extend my services or programs to reach out the customer needs, especially during the school holiday when my kindergarten has to be closed. Yeah, of course, because it's a school holiday. Yeah? And sometimes parents feel reluctant to pay the fees because school is closed and why we do have to pay the fees. So this is like 1 or 2 years I'm operating the place, and after that I already took in advance the fees in advance because to overcome the situation. All right, what I did is something that I have inspired from my life in Australia. They call it as school holiday vacation care, yeah, whereby we arrange the program to fulfill or occupy the children time during a school holiday. And there's one time I got 30 students, range 5 to 13 years old, come to my place daily, and we arrange a different types of activity for each day, like a kids entrepreneur boot camp. We rock the Quran. That is curated by ourselves, yeah, the original program by ourselves. Kids entrepreneur boot camp, we rock the Quran, Muslim Avengers, sewing class, cupcake making, public speaking, pilot simulation lab, science fair, and even we teach how for them to take a good photos, yeah, to put in the social media or whatsoever. My aim that time is only two. First, of course, as an entrepreneur, I want my place to reach everybody. I want everybody to know about my place. And the second one is to create and motivate the soft skill for children. Yeah, I think the reason why I have this kind of tendency to participate or to have this lots of programs in hand, because I have been trained in my school before. I'm from the Mara Junior Science College Kuantan, and we do have a tons of activities to choose during a school holiday, and it's just up to us to occupy ourselves with something meaningful activities that actually can give us a various knowledge and skills, which we do not know that we will be using it in the future. Yeah, and allow me to continue my story, my journey of life, so that you can take that as an example. The reason why I have to close all my ECE business after all the struggles, because my husband's commitment to work in Jakarta, and we have to move there for quite a number of years. But since I'm not the type who can't stay put without do nothing, so with my mind full of curiosity, so I take the chance living in Indonesia, where some of the travelers said it is a heaven for travelers, and it is truly. So I become a travel planner or travel advisor, I call it. I attach with my father's tourism company. We call it FT Travel and Tours. I prepare a customized holiday plan for family, especially who want to travel to Indonesia. Alhamdulillah, I have created a good networking with the local, and I also have a regular customer who already have a trust in me to come back to me every year to settle their family holiday planning. Yeah, and back to Malaysia in 2020, COVID-19 strikes in, travel business went down. I start to find a job after my husband's airline carrier got impacted by this COVID-19 pandemic. So I guess lecturing is one of my wish lists to do, as I know that this is the best way for me to keep on learning by teaching others and contribute my knowledge and experience that I have collected along the way, just for the benefits of others. So here I am now, yeah. So back to the question, I hope you can see through the example of my life journey, how I managed to adapt to the changing situation around me. Although I am not graduated in 21st century, well, my first degree graduation is in 2000, yet I am still managed to have those versatile in me and have that can-do attitude, yeah, to keep me survive. So that's what we're expecting from our education graduates as well, yeah. A willingness to change, a willingness to improve yourself by not waiting for those things coming to you, like people say, bulan jatuh ke riba kan, relying on the other people, but you are versatile enough to suit yourself with the current condition. Yeah. Back to you, Tara.
To Madam Olya, that's definitely a very wonderful story where you share with us, how being versatile is actually important to be successful in whatever industry or in whatever venture that you're looking for. And at the beginning, when you first started, you told us about the 4 C's, and a lot of educators today are very aware of the 4 C's, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and communication. But I just want to have a quick follow-up question with you. Of course, if you ask anyone out of the 4, which is the most important, everyone would say they all have a different weightage or different reasons or different role. But from your own experience, which is actually really hard for people to, to develop out of these 4 C's, which is really hard for them to develop?
Well, I guess the critical thinking. Yeah, you need to be trained your mind to be analytical in reading or doing something. It can be applied afterwards in our life. So I think critical thinking is something that we have to learn in school, yet we also get from the experience in our work life. Yeah. Critical thinking is the highest or the hardest ever, I think, for us to get notch on it.
Do you think our schools today prepare students to be critical thinkers?
Sorry?
Do you think our schools prepare students to be critical thinkers?
Definitely, yes. After this, we will talk. We will tell you about what activities that we do have offered in our faculty. Yeah, inshallah.
All right, great, thank you. Let's move on to our next speaker, and our next speaker is Miss Lilie. So, Miss Lilie, someone who has been involved in education for quite some time, and also doing lots of training with different industries. And from your perspective, what changes does the 21st century bring to the teaching and the learning process?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tara, for the question. I think it's best to answer that question by, relating it to the current scenario that we're on. Pretty much a year. It's been a year that we have gone through, COVID lockdown, and then the sudden jump into the online learning. So definitely lots of changes. We learn about a lot of things. So I think it's not just students, even teachers, parents. We were forced into doing the virtual learning, which is like away from doing the normal face-to-face learning, isn't it? So if you have been accustomed to online learning, at least you explore a bit, try a bit, at least you know what to expect. But what if when you haven't done that and suddenly you're forced to do online learning? So it's huge struggle for a lot of us. Yeah. So some find it accessible. Okay. Some may find it struggling. It's very difficult and quite a huge struggle to access to the devices, to the connection. I think these are among the main issue of implementing online learning. But the thing is, why we go through with the learning anyways, despite of the lockdown? Because we want to keep our mind occupied. Okay, so it's not that. So the learning takes place. It's not because you want to chase the syllabus. It's because you want to, it's very depressing to be staying in a house and don't do anything much. Do anything that are counterproductive, I would say. Okay, so we have to do something that is productive. So learning is one of it. Okay, so just to keep the children occupied, and therefore we have no telling. We have no telling when the COVID-19 is going to recede or completely control, which bring us to the new realization of embracing the new normal. Okay, so we are forced to think outside the box to keep on surviving and thriving. Okay, regardless whether it's in education or business or just everyday survival. I guess with the uncertainty, it forces us to be more creative and be bold with our approaches to make things happen. Okay, because we are all in our survival mode. So back to the question, what changes does the 21st century bring to the teaching and learning process? So definitely, as someone who has gone through the conventional face-to-face and also the online learning, basically we need to understand, of course, we have come to the 21st century, therefore it's good for us to define what the 21st century learning is. So 21st century learning basically refers to the the act of giving to the students the skills that they need to succeed in the new world. Okay, just now is already the new world. So, and this will basically help them grow. Okay, grow with the confidence, grow with their body of knowledge, and being able to practice things that they learn during these new norms. Okay, into their future. Okay, so which is pretty much tough to do, because it's like huge gap, huge discrepancy. When you like, for example, you learn online and you learn face to face, even in the campus. Our students also like, first they got excited lah online, right? And then after a while, okay, we want to go to the campus. But unfortunately, that is not the the scenario that we are able to do because of the lockdown policy and stuff like that. So we have to continue. Okay, so only then that I think in this sense it provides us, okay, it provides the students with the necessary information and skills, the 21st century skills, which Madam Olya has mentioned just now. The 4 skills, that is creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. Okay, those are the 4 C's, or what we call as the 4 competency skills of the 21st century learning, which the students can learn to focus and making sense of that, whatever body knowledge that they have, and then share it and use it in the smart ways. So first, we have to understand how the 21st century learning set to change the future education outlook in 3 areas. Okay, so a lot of people talk about 21st century learning. They have lots of ideas. Okay, so the first area would be the relevance and practicality of body of knowledge, because of course you come to the university to learn about the conceptual theory, the framework, the models, yeah. But how are you going to put that into practice, especially when you are in a lockdown? Okay, so matching the theories and the models learned into the industry application in the lockdown is much harder than the conventional ways. Okay, so I would like to quote a book written by Sir Ken Robinson, if you're familiar with that. It's called Out of Our Minds. He posited that the more complex the world becomes, the more creative we need to be to meet its challenges. And this has become increasingly clear in the education and the workplace. People now need to be creative to be successful, but while in the idea of success, and that success has changed, the education system has not always adjusted its methods, okay, or goals to meet it. So what the industry really need is manpower and talent who are able to converge multidisciplinary skills and be multitasking. Okay, for example, in the past, maybe you just go teach in a physical classroom, okay, and with COVID lockdown, okay, you're forced. The 4 walls are no longer your classroom, so you don't have to be in physical building to have a classroom. So the concept of classroom has become a concept. Yeah, it's a virtual space. It's nothing. It's not tangible in that sense. Okay, so the way you will have to reframe certain things that you have done in the past is very important. Okay, so as you teach, you realize that teaching is not just one of the problem. You have got to look for the materials. You've got to digitize your teaching materials, for instance, and then for learners as well. It's not just you going online and clicking to the content. There are things that you need to do that makes the learning experience, what we call it, the learning experience, under the learning experience design, more make sense. That makes sense and has impact towards the learner, because it's all about the learner. At the end of the day, it's all about the learner. Like, no matter how much you incorporate and use different approaches and stuff like that, it's all about the learner, okay, which is the receiving end. So of course, so let's say you're a teacher, okay, you also ended up being the content curator. You have to design your instructional design, your instructional materials, okay, how to go about it, how to deliver the flow, of your teaching content, do marketing. You have to market. Okay, you have to market. Do a bit about PR, promote your online class and stuff like that. Do a bit of liaison, and all these things you have got to be online. Yeah, with the clients and various external parties, especially you've got to teach the student to also learn about soft skills. So it's not just about technical expertise. Okay, so therefore students need to acquire knowledge and technical skills, but also soft skills. They need to be digitally intuitive and literate, and should be competent with technology applications to solve problems in creative ways, with critical depthness and rigor of thought. There must be a structure. Okay, a lot of people. I had a very interesting conversation yesterday with this professor, top PR consultant in the country, and then he said that a lot of people, they have body of knowledge, but they don't have structure of thoughts, which is completely, absolutely true in that sense. I agree with him completely. So the 21st century learning would teach you that, okay, that structure, the rigor of thought, depthness of thought, and all these should be translated in the 4 C's, which is the 4 competencies areas of your of the competency for the 21st century learning: collaboration, communication, creativity, and critical thinking skills. So all these should be delivered and disseminated, okay, to the learner using different communication apps, be it through video call or WhatsApp, or sometimes I think a lot of people are doing it telecollaboratively. Okay, telecollaboration means you are doing via video conferencing call. Okay, and then you can actually do collaboration, do actual project online live, which can be done. Okay, so area number 2, it's just talking about area number 1. So area number 2 that the 21st century learning really changes to is that it helps learners to make sense of the interdisciplinary methodology of teaching approaches. Okay, so in the 4 C's of the 21st century, which I mentioned just now, these 4 themes, these 4 competency areas need to be understood as units. Okay, but sometimes it should be laid across the curriculum. Okay, the curriculum mapping, or also the strategic planning, also the delivery of the content. Okay, they should be part of every lesson in the same way as literacy and numeracy. So if let's say 20th century education emphasize on compliance and conformity over creativity, so the 2 skills that were necessary to do well in a professional or corporate environment to hold down a good job for decades, for instance, has now become a relic. Okay, so still valuable, but it needs to be expanded more. Okay, so it's no longer about conformity, it's no longer about compliance, it's no longer about obedience. It's about being able to use all these 4 skills, okay, into their job skills, basically. Yeah. So which brings us to the new teaching methods regards to online learning, for instance. Even if you don't do online learning, still it cannot run away from not incorporating technology in the 21st century learning. Yeah. So perhaps you have heard about some of the terms that are coined, such as blended learning. Okay, blended learning, where you blend conventional instructional approaches and also frameworks into online, right? And then there's telecollaborative learning, whereby you get the student. For instance, I have done this project before with the UK university. I combined three universities, two local universities in Malaysia and one with university in the UK. So they did one project and they did this simultaneously within the same time, and they have to present. So it can be done. Okay, it can be done. So there's no barriers to learning anymore. You don't just learn with fellow classmates. You can learn with other students from other universities, okay, from other schools, from other faculties, for instance. So everything is possible now. Then you have the flipped classroom. I think that is how you learn nowadays. Yeah, flipped classroom. First the teacher will teach, and then you will assign some projects or tasks to the student, and then they will do discuss in a group, and then find whatever application. Sometimes you should not underestimate your student. You'll be surprised with their level of creativity and their their rigor, okay, because they can be very creative, and especially the new millennials, they are very, very creative. They know how to use the correct app and stuff like that. So then they come back and present to the teacher or the lecturers, and what have they found. Okay. So basically it's like sharing with the teacher. That is 21st century learning. So it's no longer the teacher tells everything, spoon-feed everything. No, the teacher or the instructor or the lecturers has become more like a mentor or coach or facilitator. Just make sure that they don't deviate from the path, from the straight path. So that is one of the new methods of teaching. Yeah. Then there's gamified learning. Oh my god, it could be interactive. I mean, you can combine. Of course, it's interaction. It's very interactive, but you can also combine with virtual reality, augmented reality. Possibilities are endless. And then you have the hybrid learning. Okay, you combine everything. And then when you do online, in the past it used to be okay. During the first time we involved with the online learning, everybody do it synchronously, means live. We thought that it's like learning only takes place when live. Then we got wrong. Okay. And then we discovered that actually there's synchronous learning and also asynchronous learning. And now they call it synchronous learning. So because learning is all about in the new norm is all about flexibility. Okay, flexibility, and what matters is that the learning experience makes sense to the learner. Okay, that's the second area, which is making sense of interdisciplinary methodology of the teaching approaches. Number 3 area that would be impacted by the 21st century learning would be how to deal with the types of learners. A lot of people forget. Okay, they thought learners they are the same. No. If you teach my generation, it will be different. Okay, so if you teach with the new millennials, different. Then they have the like for me, I am generation X. Then there's generation Y, and then which are the millennials. Okay, and I think the millennials has already started working. Okay. The new talent, right? And then there's generation Z, who are born between 1995 to the year 2009, 2010. So most of the generation Z who were born in this period, they don't remember their life without internet, I would say. They grew up watching YouTube. They have access to technology, at least playing with the mother's handphone, right? Playing with iPads, smart boards, other devices, anything that they can get their hands on. Okay, so if they are lucky, they get their own laptop or their own PC. Okay, to help with their schooling. And then there's Generation Alpha, who were born 2010 onwards. So it could relate. Maybe it's your brothers, it's your own child. So these are younger than the smartphones, the iPad, the 3D television, Instagram, music streaming apps like Spotify. So these are the first generation who likely to see the 22nd century in large numbers. Okay, so growing up with this level of technology means growing up with completely unprecedented amount of information at your fingertips. Okay, so that's why this generation they are into how to say instant gratification. They don't like things that are slow, easy. Like my generation, we like things needs to be proper, slow, easy, in order. This generation they are not like that. Okay, so if you're slow, like everything they ask, everything must be prompt, must be quick, it must be fast. That's why everything it must be at their fingertips. Okay, so these kids have to say a very quick thinking. Okay, very quick thinking. They're interested to discover the world, and they can do this without even leaving their bedroom. So the current cohort of students come from Generation Z and Generation Alpha, which I'm facing them right now. Okay, so these two generations have grown up with advanced technology, okay, as given in their homes and classroom. So they are the digital natives. Okay, they are the digital natives. They are comfortable using apps. You'll be surprised seeing babies swipe. The fingers are completely alive. Okay, and then we have babies who, when they touch the actual magazine, they swipe. They don't know how to flip the pages. Okay, so these are among the 3 important areas that 21st century learning has brought great and immense changes into the education. Okay, so that's my answer.
Thank you so much, Miss Lilie. That was really well spoken and so in depth. I feel like we were listening to a master lecture talking about what to expect, especially from not only from a student's perspective, but really from a teaching day. As a language teacher myself, you do not realize how much changes that we actually had to adapt. Like what Olya was saying just now. The willingness to change, and then like what Miss Lilie, what you talked about just now. Being relevant to the day, relevant to the student, being creative, being bold. So we don't realize it, especially those teachers who are just, whether you are just thrown into the pit and says get on with it. So we are changing. Sometimes we just don't know how to name it. There's no label to it yet. All right. So now let's move on to Miss Suthaa. Suthaa is a student here today at Uniraza, and as a student, what is one or two? It doesn't have to be just one, but one is what are the skills that you think the 21st century skill that you need to be a successful student?
Okay, hello, Ms. Lilie, thank you. Okay, so as a student, I have learned a lot during this pandemic. Okay, so as Ms. Olya mentioned earlier, 4 C's were the 21st century skills. Besides that, I have learned a lot in this pandemic, starting as earlier you mentioned that this 18 March has been the first anniversary for COVID-19, and yes, for me this is first anniversary for me where I have stopped learning in physical and come to online learning. So as for me, I have learned to be self-disciplined first of all, where I have increased my self-discipline increased because I have been attending my online class and able to submit my tasks, assignments, and on time. And most importantly, I would like to thank the 21st century where they have brought up this Eurox, where Eurox has been a very good best friend for me of mine, where during this whole year it has been with me and also going to be with me in the following years because I'm going to continue next year as well. And even though I'm unable to attend the recorded sessions, I'm able to see the recorded sessions by the teachers in the Europe. That's one of the skills that I have developed in myself, where I even though I couldn't attend, I was able to how to say, see the recorded sessions. Okay. Furthermore, these 21st century, back to this 21st century skill, collaboration has been a very good thing in me, where I'm able to collaborate with my friends in this online learning, where I will be able to meet my friends in Google Meet, and I will interact with them, even though I couldn't meet them in face to face. Virtual classroom has been a good application, and also a good way to interact with my friends, colleagues, and also my lecturers. And going to the next point, where we have to be creative. Creativity is not me, but I'm learning to be creative, where as a future teacher, I learned to be a creative. I want my children to be creative, so I'm learning to be creative, learning to be learning the new technologies and trying to be friendly with them, because in this ICT we have thousands, millions of softwares, websites, and applications where we can implement it in the future. Yeah. Okay, back to the skills. So besides self-discipline, collaboration, creativity, for myself, I've become how to say, it's not a skill, but I've become a digitally, how to say, I'm a digitally native for this new 21st century skills. So I think that's all from my side. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Suthaa. Right, that's interesting. As a student, we have to adapt to the surrounding, the environment. Whatever that comes our way, whether it's digitally, blended learning, whatever, definitely something we have to adapt to. Let's move to Puan Olya. Let's get back to you. And the question is, maybe you can share with us one or two learning aspects that needs attention, especially in the transition from our normal learning to our current learning.
All right, thanks, Tara. Well, as Lilie mentioned just now, we will rely on the technology in everything that we will do in our life in this 21st century. Yeah. So same goes for education. But because we're just a normal human being, we can't predict the future. So like what has happened to us just now, last year, 18th of March, although we have slowly thought that we have made a preparation to be adapt with what the future uphold for education, like educational technology base. But I think all of us here are agreed, when the pandemic strikes in, we just realized that we have not prepared enough, to face the circumstances. But it has forced us, no matter what, you have to adapt to this new norm, So let us take a look at the bright side. For me, this is the best time for us to shift our mindset, or I rather say that we have to unlearn what we have learned and relearn what we need to learn. I think I would like to highlight the 4 points from what Lilie mentioned just now, and I think we can take those as something in order for us to ease ourselves in transitioning to the new norm in education. First, we have to shift on the learning space from a public space to a personal space. What this means is instead of going to school and university premises to learn like before, learning now happens at home within our personal space, or we call it as online learning. And you heard it yourself by Suthaa when we talk about online learning. Allow me to share good things for those who want to study in Uniraza. We already have the proper learning management system in place. We call it UROC, short form for Uniraza Online Experience. And as an educator myself, I feel so blessed to have this LMS during this pandemic time, as we are not cut off from the learning community at all. Yeah, we just have merely shifted our communication channels from physical to virtual. And to all audience out there, for your information, Uniraza is the first Malaysian university to invest and integrate Canvas LMS into our Uniraza online experience in 2008. 2018, 2 years ahead before the pandemic COVID-19. So I guess in terms of the online learning structure, we already fully prepared. It's just that we need to go full throttle. It means we maximize, make everybody to fully utilize it, familiarize with the system, and now is the perfect timing to do that. Yeah. So good news about those who want to study in Uniraza. And secondly, shift of delivery or teaching methods, like what Lilie mentioned just now. From one size fits all, now it is to individualize and differentiated learning. We all know during the brick and mortar of physical classroom or lecturing hall, we just have to listen to the lecture, to the same lectures with the specific time period for the student to absorb the knowledge right there, regardless they can take it or not, right? So nowadays, I am preparing my lecture notes in a Prezi slides, having an online meeting with my students to give my online lecture, record it like Suthaa mentioned just now for future purposes, upload it and UROCs whereby they can watch it for multiple times, having an online discussion, chat, and they can answer quiz, do the assignments online. Lots of things that have been changed in terms of the delivery of teaching methods. So I think this will give the opportunity to those students who have a different capabilities of learning, or we call it as VARK, V-A-R-K, as described in 1992 study by Neil D. Fleming and Colin E. Mills. VARK, V-A-R-K, stands for Visual, Auditory, Reading, and Kinesthetic Learning Styles. So, by transitioning our old school methods to new way of teaching, I can say it benefits all. I can say it can benefit all different types of learners, and it can be more individualized basis, based on their own preference times. As you know, some of the teenagers, they are nocturnals. It means their brain are function more at night time, but they normally sleep in the morning, and of course they cannot attend class in the daytime. So, but they still can succeed in their study. They still can pass in their study because they do have that flexibility to study all the lecture materials online based on preferable time to them. And third one is a shift of responsibility in teaching and learning process. From previously, we only rely on teachers and educators or school, but nowadays we have to acknowledge and reset our mindset. It needs to be hand in hand responsibility with the whole household member as well, like parents, siblings, brothers and sisters. Because learning takes place in a personal place, most likely in a student home. So that's why family members need to become active agents in a teaching and learning process. So the entire household can act as a learning facilitators, providing guidance, assistance, just to make the learning process more pleasant for students who need to study online. Although the teachers can always deliver lesson and learning materials online, but we have to remember, learning needs interaction with the physical world. So when it comes to the needs for the reference to the outside world and physical interaction, guess what? Household members need to play a role, by showing a real life example, especially for the kids, giving demonstration, or even having a simple conversation. As a parent or sibling, please do take note. You don't need to be like a professor or expert in something. You just simply need to be present to facilitate the learning process. And I think if you can give this kind of support, it will give the student conviction that learning activity is absolutely important. Yeah. Last but not least, I think shift in learning evaluation from examination to the meaningful assessment. Well, you know, in Malaysia, we all academic driven and focus on the grades as it indicates the successful journey in our academic life. However, with the transitioning to new norm, I think this is the best time for us to revisit the purpose of having an assessment at the first place. Yeah. So with the new ways of our delivery method, we expect we can shift our mind instead of having A's in all subjects. The most important thing, whether the knowledge that they learn can be applied in their life. Yeah. And the purpose of evaluation activities now shift focus from the assessment of learning to assessment for learning. And we can use the result to know whether the intended learning outcome have been achieved by the students or whether they need an extra work to help them to master a certain topic. I know with all this, it's not easy for us to unlearn what we have learned for the past 20, 30 years. Yeah. But I think this is the best time for us to let it go, and else we can't learn new thing and we can't move on, and we cannot be versatile. And we need to understand that we are moving forward towards the technology as a crucial enabler, and that's the only choice we have under these circumstances. Okay, back to you, Tara.
Great. Yes, definitely, Puan Olya, whatever that you have just shared with us, it makes a lot of sense. It's not only just the teachers or the facilitators are the one who plays the role, also the family members, because your space is no longer a common space, it's an individual personal space. Before we move to our next question, we actually have a question by our viewers. Can we see those questions, please? All right, so our first question here is by Anas Saleh, and Anas asks, what are the challenges that were faced by educators and ways to overcome it? Well, thank you, Anas, for that question. But I think that there are a few questions here that actually very directly are answering your question. So thank you for that, and I hope that you continue watching this session. So the questions will definitely be answered. I think we have another question. Can we look at the other question? Or was it just one question? Do we have another question? Okay, all right. So there's only just one question so far. Right, let's move to the next question, and this question will go back to Miss Lilie. Because you have already shared with us, how students need to prepare themselves and how teaching has changed. But can you tell us how can students prepare themselves to be more versatile? Maybe you can just give us maybe one point. What is the most important point how to be a versatile student at this current age? Miss Lilie? I think we cannot hear you.
Sorry. Sometimes this happens. Okay, so thank you, Ms. Tara, for the question. Now, how can we prepare students to be versatile in adapting the new norm? Right, in my point of view, in my experience, the first thing I would do is to give my students a reality check. Okay, I think every of my students can relate to this. Yeah? So I give them a reality check. So similarly, when you enter a new class, you have to point out the cardinal rules, right? Okay, so I am also doing that. So usually what I told them is that they can no longer expect to be spoon-fed. Okay, I would advise my student to keep an open mind, okay, and be ready for whatever hurdles and challenges that may come towards their way. Because of course, learning is not easy, because if it's easy, everybody will be doing it. So that's the essence of the experience, is the struggle and the difficulties and all the hardships that you have to endure, the heartbreaks, the struggle. Only then you will be appreciate how to say, the sweetness and the victorious glory towards the end. So when you imagine yourself wearing the robe, for instance, then it would make sense to you. Then you would feel the victorious how to say feeling that you have hurdled for the entire years of your studies. Okay, but it's worth it. I'm telling you now, it's worth it, right? So in order to adapt to the new norm, students must have grit. So I always tell them that you have to have grit. What is grit? It's basically determination. They have to be how to say, patient. They need to keep on pushing themselves for the best. Okay, for the best. Not in a competitive kind of way, but even if they, like, let's say if they flop, okay, they didn't do well, they must always have the mindset of keep on fighting, keep on trying to fix themselves, keep on improving themselves. Okay, so they have to have or possess immense endurance and threshold. So endurance and threshold is not something that are basically told to anybody, isn't it? So threshold is very important, okay, because it is actually the thing that leads to grit, and when you have grit, you can basically handle everything. Okay, so you also need to observe yourself, okay, your own learning, because you're an adult learner, right? So basically you need to have self-regulation, or what we, okay, in education we call it self-regulated or autonomous learner. So it's not like school where everything is being done, laid out to you, just like follow, right? But in university it will be different. So especially in the new norm, okay, you have to have like really high motivation to give. Like even if at your lowest point, you know that you shouldn't give up. Okay, so you have to take the risk to discover and explore, be responsible of own learning, and never give up. I always tell my students, never give up. Trust the process. Keep on striving. You would basically savor the sweetness later. Okay, imagine yourself walking on the stage, wearing the robe. So that I think I did that, and I think that's the best advice I could give to my students. So here are my advice on adjusting to new normal. Okay, 5 tips back to virtual school tips basically. Okay, so the first thing is for teachers especially, even for students, when you do your presentation or you do your teaching materials, utilize whatever interactive platforms and games or web tools that you manage to find online. Okay, many teachers who are fully remote, they struggle to balance the pedagogy of instruction with engagement. So if you really follow the instruction approaches, okay, then you lack in terms of engagement. So which one is important, engagement or the instructional flow, okay, or the material? So these are things that you need to balance into. Okay, so use gamified learning app like Kahoot. Oh, students love Kahoot. I think everybody has experienced Kahoot nowadays. I preferably use Mentimeter, okay, or Padlet. So I use few selections of Web 2.0. For example, Google Jamboard. Oh, I love Google Jamboard. My students also love moving the Jamboard. So sometimes I have to, but it's okay. Sometimes you have to, get in touch of your inner child to make the lesson more interactive, okay, and engaging. Because what matters is towards the end is, yes, you want to make sure that the objective is achieved, Yeah, but at the end of the day, what matters is that students can make sense of that learning. Okay, and you have to do it. To do this, sans the face-to-face because it's the new norm. Now, number two, my advice would be facilitate discussions and collaboration, regardless whether you're a teacher or whether you're a student doing group work. And then when you're doing group work in the new norm, how are you going to do that when your partner is in, let's say, Perlis, and then another partner is in Pahang? So of course you have to think outside the box. So with the advancements of technology, 21st century living, you would be able to explore video conferencing tools, web tools 2.0, make sense of it, okay, make full use of it. You can do the project. Like I literally coach my students on how to do the assignments, okay, or how to do group work. So I usually have like one session where I coach my student and teach them how they work collaboratively, okay, just from their drive, okay, and so I basically coach my students on how to do it. And after that, they because I have to understand not everybody is digitally literate and also intuitive. So what matters is that to make sure that the education in the 21st century learning is accessible. That's because it's inclusive. It's all about making learning inclusive. Okay, that is also part of the aspiration of 21st century learning. So you facilitate the discussion by sharing videos, plenty of stimulus, okay, that you can use. You share videos, articles using web tool, lots of available stimulus that you can use online. Some of it free, okay, so it's just a matter of explore. Of course, you just need to find the time. Yeah. So this is one way of adapting to the new norm. Completely different. We no longer have the need to meet face to face, and still you can still do pitching, you can still do presentation, you can still do projects. Forum, for instance, okay, still can wait, life goes on. Yeah. So my third advice would be make time for socio-emotional learning. Yes, this is the part where a lot of teachers forget, even the students sometimes. Okay, so socio-emotional is very important. Okay, a lot of teachers sometimes they only think about the content. Oh my god, how I'm going to deliver the content? So they put everything in the learning platform. Okay, so this is not about regurgitation and dumping everything in the learning platform. Okay, so that is not learning. It's the socio-emotional being of the teacher and also the learners, the student. Okay, that is important. That's why in the new framework, okay, in the new instructional design framework, there's one thing what we call as learning experience design. Okay, learning experience design, it took the concept of user experience, like you using handphone application, anything, and then of course you get the customer's review, right? So the user experience is what inspired learning experience design, because a lot of instructors, a lot of learners even sometimes they focus more on the content, but they forget about the experience part, with the experience, because you have to understand this, learning is also life experience, just like birthday, okay, just like anniversaries, or worst experience ever, best experience ever. So it's experience. So we tend to remember things that are pleasant, right? Okay. Some of us, we will remember things that are unpleasant. So we don't want the unpleasant, the clinginess to the clinginess of the learning experience design. The clinginess of the a painful experience basically impacted their learning process. So we don't want that. Okay, so pay attention to their well-being. A lot of my students, I found that they are depressed because they don't meet, right? So could be very isolated in that sense. So yes, do make time for their socio-emotional learning. Okay, so chat, have conversation, give support. Number 5, my advice would be prioritize your self-care. Okay, that's why the 21st century learning is meant to have to make it more flexible. Okay, in that sense, because like Madam Olya said, some of our students, they are working and then they are nocturnal. So you are dealing with various kinds of students with various styles, various mindset, various attitude. Okay, so you have to make sure that self-care. Okay, if you don't know how to survive, basically how to solve problem. If they need help, then provide support. Okay, provide mentoring. So facilitate. Sometimes they just need someone to hear them. That's it. Kan? Like give a simple facilitation and they are good to go. You can let them go. Okay. So my advice to students would be stay motivated, complete your homework. Okay. Whatever that is given according to the timeline or progress, follow that one. Okay. Do not procrastinate. Okay. Once you procrastinate, you're going to suffer towards the end. Not everybody are designed. Okay, not everybody is designed to do last minute job. Some people, yes, they marvel doing last minute job. They get creative. Most people not. Okay, most people are not. So number 2, my advice would be learn and master the topic. So the beauty about online learning is that especially in the 21st century learning, you get to repeat and replay until you get it. Okay, so break it, chunk it, make sense. If you need to talk it out, discuss, discover, look for it. Okay, so whatever that you do for the scaffolding. Scaffolding means to make sense of your own learning until you get it, do it. Okay, so number 3, monitor the time spent on every task. Don't spend too much time and don't spend too little time. Okay, it has to be balanced. So take notes, okay, and study for online exam. Lots of materials. Okay, like I said, your generation are very lucky. Everything is within your fingertips. Now my advice is that if you don't know where to look, find connection. That's why it's constructivist learning, right? Constructivist learning and also connectivist learning. So you make connections so that you can construct your learning. That's how. Number 5, last advice would be create and adhere to new routine. Okay, set a routine, stick to it. Like for example, even for myself, sometimes I got really tired. I'm juggling my PhD. I'm like doing full blown full load of teaching classes Saturday, Sunday. Where do I find the time? Okay, I woke up at 4 a.m. Okay, so that's my routine. Maybe sometimes not every day, but that's my routine. So find something that is workable for you. Everybody has a different way of working things. Okay, so that is how basically the tips and strategies and advice that I can give to teachers, okay, and also for fellow students, future students, to be more versatile in adapting to the new norm. This is a skill, okay? It's not just that you do it in the learning process. You will also feel the benefit once you graduated. Okay, so that's all my answer. Thank you.
Great. Lilie, that was really informative. I think that whoever's listening to the session today, whether you're a student, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a parent, they have greatly benefited from it, because you had really given us really important tips and advice, on how to manage our time, how to be versatile. We are running a little bit out of time, so what we can do is that we're going to answer one question from our viewer. We have one question from a viewer, and then we're going to go to one question to Ms. Suthaa, because I think that we need to hear a little bit more from our student, and then we'll kind of wrap it up the session today. So let's go to our question. We have a question by our viewer. All right, so the full question, I will read the full question here. Okay, the full question is, I am curious. This is by Morgan, okay? I'm curious. So before this, we mentioned that students function better at night. Do you think night classes is possible, or will it be more common in Malaysia in the future? So, Puan Olya, would you like to try to answer that question? Or anybody else?
Yes, yeah, I will. Okay, so thank you, Morgan Mark, for your question. And I believe you might one of those who are nocturnals then. since you asked this kind of question. Yeah, no worries. We have lots of nocturnal students also in our class. But like I mentioned before, we do have a flexibility for you to learn yourself learning online. Yeah, and I don't think so. The night class could be possible for most of us, especially lecturers who are working, and we do have a families to serve and to entertain, and of course we need to arrange our work-life balance. Yeah, so we need to utilize the technology to make our life better, not make our life more stress. Yeah, so that's why I think night class, for me, from my opinion, I don't think so. I would like to have those night class on. It's just that the best I can do, maybe I can keep on put my videos for you to watch, and you just can WhatsApp or PM me at any time possible. I can answer out of the class time, but well, not in the night class. Thank you.
All right, great. Great answer to that question. Yes, it's really a personal opinion, whether night classes is something that we will all be comfortable with. But also, like what Olya said, we could study synchronous or asynchronous. It's really about the flexibility. It's using the technology to our benefit, not to our disadvantage. Let's move to Suthaa. So one question here that I would like to ask you is that you mentioned in your profile that you are inspired by your tuition teacher, to become a teacher themselves. So what is one thing? So just share with me one thing that you are preparing yourself so that you will become someone who can be a great teacher, or someone who can capture the hearts of students in the future.
So, as main skill of mine I'm trying to be is to be patient, because to be a teacher, patience is the important key, where when you're handling a child or a group of students, you should be patient, because how naughty, how calm, how different character you can see when you're in the working period. This was inspired me by my tuition teacher, because she was handling various character of students. So that was the one of skill that I want to take it in the future, where to be patient. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Suthaa. Yeah. So being patient is very important. So I can hear in your background that you have some children with you. Is that your family members?
Yeah. My mother is a babysitter, so they're babysitting the children.
I see. Yeah. So even as a student, the environment also kind of, helps you to become a better teacher, a better student, because you have to be patient with the environment. Let's go on to almost the end of our session, and I would like to ask this to Madam Olya. Can you share with us maybe an advice for students who would like to take up an education program, right? Why is it important? How can it help them in their future?
Thank you, Tara. Before I proceed to give you an advice to all our beloved students out there, I just can't resist to share this one news I've just read in the newspaper on Monday about the country's unemployment rate. Yeah, so in Malaysia nowadays, the country's unemployment rate has rose to 4.5% in 2020 compared to 3.3% in 2019. And it also impacted not only who lost their job, but who have not yet been employed. It means you guys, our fresh graduates. So now the fresh graduates not only have to compete among themselves, but also made it more difficult to compete against experienced workers seeking a new job. So Tara and all the audience out there, can you imagine how crucial for us to be versatile to survive in this 21st century? I don't want to make scared of these circumstances, but this is the reality that we have to face. So by hook, by crook, you need to equip yourself with the various skills, a part of the elements that we mentioned earlier on. And you need to observe, align yourself with the market needs, and use your skills, make yourself stay relevant. Yeah. So that's why in Uni Razak, I just maybe I can touch a little bit on the special slot that we have in each of our courses in our faculty. We call it as an industry guest speaker, where we arrange the industry people or expertise from the real job to come to our class to share their insights, their thoughts, in order for us to make sure that we will produce the students who are market ready to the industry. Well, I think, Tara, I know because we are running out of time, and I think that's all the short and sweet answer from me. And maybe Miss Lilie, as a program director, want to brief more program offered in Uni Razak. Pass to you. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you. Miss Lilie, yes, could you share with us what are some of the programs that is offered in Uni Razak related to the education?
Okay, so final words. Okay. In Uni Razak, we are actually coming from School of Education and Humanities. So known as SEH, we call it SEH. So we offer few programs, okay, related to education, such as Bachelor of Education in Early Childhood. We also offer Diploma level for Early Childhood, Diploma in Early Childhood. We also offer Bachelor of English, Master TESA, Master of Education, Master in Early Childhood Education, and also PhD in Education. Okay, so we have lots of major that perhaps can cater to your needs, that is relevant to the industry. So do come to us and inquire and learn more about our programs, and inshallah we will coach you. We will have a very different learning experience in Uni Razak. Okay, so yes, feel free to contact us.
Awesome, right. So yes, to all our viewers, potential students, current students, please contact us. And before we end, I'll have a few sharings that I would like to do. For example, if you are looking for a financial assistance, because times are hard, not everyone can have the financial needs to just continue studying or to educate and further their education. Don't forget, don't worry, the MARA TSP and the GREP financial assistance is available online. So it is actually open now until tomorrow, March 19th. It is still available. So what you can do, you can go to our website, www.unirazak.edu.my, to find out more about this financial assistance. And our March intake is actually still open. We would definitely love to see you. Of course, at the moment now, you can't enter to our campus and have a face-to-face consultation, but that's why you can call us at 03-2789-1599 or 014-3372-925. You can also email us at drjo@unirazak.edu.my. If you want to find out more information, please feel free, don't be shy, contact us, talk to any one of our consultants, and they'll tell you and they'll help you, identify what are the courses that might be suitable for you. And this has come to the end of our session today. Thank you so much. We hope to see you, whether on the next TikTok, which is the next few days. We have a few more sessions. Those of you who are on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, please subscribe. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for asking questions. And thank you for spending your time with us. I also like to thank our three speakers, Puan Olya, Miss Lilie, and Miss Suthaa. Thank you for spending your day with us. It was really beneficial. Yeah, I think that our audience have really learned so much from all of us today. It was really a beneficial session. I felt like it was a master course in education. So everybody, stay safe. I hope to see you face to face one day. At the meantime, please keep a distance, wear a mask whenever you go, and wash your hands frequently. Thank you, everybody, and have a nice day.
Thank you.